Hi, we're in our last week of Module 4, and I thought I'd do another kind of face-to-face video since we're about midterm through now. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I may sound a little funny. But I hope you're all hanging in there. Please contact me if you have any questions or if you feel lost in any way. I want to be available to you, and I'm going to try to get in a midterm survey here this week or over spring break, and you'll have like a week to get that in by Module 5. I'll probably give you a point for that, but that's really just for your benefit to assess how I can better meet your needs in this class kind of halfway through, so I'd hate to wait till the end of the semester to do that. So be sure to look for that coming up. So this week we have, depending on when you're viewing this video, quiz 2 is due on March 7th on the Tuesday, and that's just to assess the tutorial in the textbook, The Photographer Website. And that tutorial is helpful as you will have added images to a web page, and you'll be working with the logo and resizing the logo, and that's something that you'll need to do on your personal portfolio that you turn in, as well as your professional site that you'll turn in at the end of the semester. And then also you assign alt tags to improve usability on your site, manipulating images, and also using the extract panel to apply styles, and also getting a little bit of CSS in there. And we'll really focus more on this cascading style sheet CSS in Module 5, but hopefully that was kind of a good intro to that and some of the styling for your website. And then this week, so we've got quiz 2 due. You've already hopefully turned in your logo from last week, and as well as discussion, which I'm going to talk more about for the best sites and practices. Get your logos in if you haven't already, so I'm still accepting those. For things that are starting to accrue that are over a week late, I'm just going to assign a grade of 0. If you want that changed anyway, you have to contact me and let me know if there's just something going on that you're not able to get the stuff in on time. I need to hear from you, otherwise the 0 is going to stay put. So also be sure to sign up for your partner for your professional site, and then enjoy your spring break next week, and we'll be back. And I'll be back with Module 5. I'm going to hopefully spend spring break to try to open up more modules for you so you can look at that. And then Module 5 should officially open on the 21st after spring break. So again, I will do some more discussion about the discussion on best sites and practices. And I do hope that you have a great spring break, and I will see you after the break. So I'm on our course page in Module 4, and here's our professional site partner sign up. You see that some of you have already signed up. If you don't have a partner yet, be sure to just input your name. You can sign up next to somebody's name and contact them to be their partner, or you can list your name so someone else can contact you. But it's important to get this kind of settled early on so you're not scrambling to get a partner last minute when it's due. So I want to go ahead and point that out to you. Now I want to talk about the discussion for best sites, and I appreciate all the comments. Some of you did not really cite your sources or research other articles, so I want you to be sure to read carefully the instructions so that next time I will grade more heavily on that. But I do appreciate those of you who did do that. So we're going to start with our bad sites. So some of you found some really bad sites, and some are so bad that it's even funny. So we're going to start with Timothy pointed out here, this Penny Juice site. I don't know how he found this, but let's talk about what makes this a bad site according to some of the reading that we've done. And let me just pull that up, the research-based web design and usability guidelines. And I just want to point out this is research-based, So that is an important element to keep in mind. So first of all, we have all caps type, which generally is hard to read, especially for longer text. And then we've got on top of that the white text over colored backgrounds. So just to increase our eye strain and difficulty to read. Then we have the links buried at the bottom of the site in very small type. So if you even make it to scroll down there, it's kind of hard to see those links there. All right, so let's go on to our next one. This is an interesting one that Amanda pointed out, and ironically it's from Yale University School of Art. And I was interested in this. I had a couple of design professors when I was in design school from the Yale School of Art. And so what they are doing here is they're really kind of conceptual about the process of creating. And so if you look here, you can see that this is a wiki site. If you click on that, that explains that it's a collaborative site so that those users who are staff or students can actually modify this site. Let's go back to it. So I think their purpose here is a little bit different, and they're not necessarily trying to create something visually appealing, but they're more about the process and the collaboration of making the site. Still, I don't think the usability and the visibility is working that well. So I think that Amanda had a good point. But it's just an interesting way of going about creating a site and the process of it. So I don't think that the usability, that they're that interested in being user-friendly here. I don't think that's their main goal. And then let's move on to, let's see if I can find it here. This one is interesting. Ken Rockwell Photography, which is pointed out by Fritz. And this is one of the things in our web guidelines is you don't want an image that is so large that it takes up over the fold. So the fold would be anything that you have to scroll down for that takes up more than the screen. So this image, you really have to scroll down to see the entire image and anything beneath that image. So again, it's kind of hard to make it that far because everything is kind of like it's zoomed in and you're in 200% or something, and so it's kind of hard to get into when you can't see the entire image at first sight. Okay, we're gonna go back to well, I was gonna do this one last, but let's go ahead and talk about CronerBrother.com. Dylan pointed this out to us, and let's just listen to the sound here.
Denko Dots, brand, really good. Yes, strong,
okay.
Man.
There are so many things that we could point at that are bad about this site. So let's just move on here. Emily Angle Photography. Where are you, Emily? So this thanks to Emily, who wanted to bring this to our attention. And one thing I wanted to note, this actually, when you turn this on, it has this music playing, and there's really small type, if you can find it, that says music off, so you can actually turn the music off. But I find the music really distracting, and music is just really depending on personal taste. So if it's not really adding anything to the site, it's really not necessary. So be careful with the sound selection. Again, if it's not doing having a specific function and unified with the site, is it really necessary? So one thing that Emily pointed out on the site was these images are large, they can be slow to load, and they just kind of keep moving along here. And what we really might work better for a photographer website is to have these thumbnail images larger, maybe have a page of thumbnails with larger images where the user can click on the thumbnail that they're interested in and just look at those images individually. So kind of have a whole page with their thumbnails, and then user being able to click on each thumbnail so they can just look at the images that they're interested in, if they're interested in portraits or landscapes, whatever. And so that's kind of a helpful thought with the thumbnails to really make that accessible and easy to use for the usability of the site. All right, let's move on and see if I had another bad one. A couple of you pointed out this one. If I can find it here. Suzanne Collins. So Casey and Micah, I believe both of you called Suzanne out on this one. And as you can see, these images are not aligned. There's some that are center aligned, some that are left aligned. It's just kind of all over the place. There's long blocks of text. And then the bold is kind of used in a way that doesn't make sense. So this type is bold with these quotations, but then they're not bolded here. So there's inconsistency with the way the type is formatted. The links are off on the side, and even this welcome intro is way off to the side, and it's really easy to miss, and it's really kind of hard to find where the links are. Okay, let's go on now to best sites. And I'm going to start with Caitlin. Caitlin chose this site to work or play. It's not a site that I was familiar with, but I wanted to point out, and she pointed out some really good things too in her sightings. The color palette is very nice and subdued, and not only that, but it's used throughout the site in a way that unifies everything together. So you can see when you click on these links, the underlines are using the same color palette. Even the social media icons use the same color. And then if you click on an article and scroll down here, you can see even the links here are highlighted using that same color palette. So some real nice consistency with that. These fonts are also familiar fonts. There's a serif font for these titles, and then also for the body text. And then kind of this grid of the framework of the site uses a more modern sans serif font. So you kind of differentiate between the two. Then let's look at the Clark's, the shoe website that Dylan chose as his best site. And I just want to point out these two kind of highlighted areas, this gray box and then this kind of beige box down here, as well as the center box that's got the images. But these kind of highlight what is important on this page. So they want you to know that they have free shipping and free returns every day on every order, and then the new arrivals box, so you can easily navigate and click on those. So the nav bar is also consistent with that color scheme, and as well as the familiar typeface, very easy to read. Now let's look at this Tesla site, which was Dylan's best site, and I really liked the video in this one because it's used appropriately, and it does add to the branding of the Tesla, and you can see the logo here. And there's no audio sound because it's really not necessary, but the video and there's no lag time in loading, and it really does help to see the environment, that feel like that's part of the brand of where this car can take you. So kind of that spanning video of seeing where it's going, that moving forward seems to work with the branding of this particular product. Then we go to this Collider site. It's like a movie entertainment site. And this was a site, trying to see here who pointed that out. That was Noland. And again, we have this consistent text formatting. We've got the traditional black on white, which is just very easy to read. So you can't really go wrong with that. And that was in the reading as well. And then there's the consistency in the formatting. The titles of the the movies or shows are italicized, and then the names of the actors are in bold. So that's always consistent in all the articles. And also the titles, the headlines of the articles are set in the same typeface and color, this blue color. So again, a lot of consistency overall and easy to use just with this navigation element. Then we go to Micah's selection for best site here inside Abbey Road. It's a Google site, and this actually has sound.
Welcome to Abbey Road,
which is
home to the
appropriate for what it
world-famous
is.
studio.
It's an audio-visual
For the first
tour,
time ever,
Abbey Road.
discover what goes on beyond these doors. Google presents Inside Abbey Road.
And then it's their easy or very clear instructions to click on the Step Inside button to access more. And there's an example where the sound and the music are helpful and I think contribute to this site. And then we want to look at Emma's selection here for Best Sites Quiver. The first time I accessed the site, there was kind of a lag time with these images coming up, so it was a little slow to load, so that was my only negative on this one. But I like the ease of use here, and when you click on, let's just go to, here we go. We've got the logo that's always in the center here, and then these graphics really do speak of what it is because this is an app, so the graphics to lend to it, and all I have to do is kind of mouse over these elements and they move for me, and I can click on how it works, and these elements kind of all come to place. We've got this nav element in the center. So it's kind of like they do a lot of the work for the user, which is nice. And then when I click on another tab, it's the same visual design layout and format. The background color changes, but it's still the same layout, and I know where I am and where I can go from here. You can see the color of the background changes. And in the typeface, the font, it's a familiar typeface. There's no problem with readability there. And I forgot to point out one of the bad sites that was, let me see, who was the one? I think it may have been Dylan. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. But Against the Clock. And one of the reasons that this site is poorly designed, or part of it is poorly designed, is that you don't want your headline to look like a banner ad. So that's something to look out for here too. So maybe it's time for a redesign for Against the Clock. Okay, and so that's my comments. Thanks to all for contributing to this discussion. And if you did not get a chance to look at that or post your discussion, you can go back and do that. And just let me know when you do that. If you ever are turning stuff in late, shoot me an email and let me know if you're submitting something late so I don't miss it. All right, I hope to see you soon. We've got a Zoom video conference coming up on Tuesday, the 7th at 7 p.m. for those who can't do daytime. So I haven't heard from anyone who is interested in doing that. So if you do want to participate, please let me know so that it's not just a wasted hour there. All right, thanks. Bye.